fifth grade. Today you're going to be working on Module 2, Lesson 26. So we are going to be skipping Lesson 25 today, and today our lesson is going to be all about dividing numbers so that we can get our decimals. So instead of having remainders, we are now going to have decimals, and I'm going to be showing you, to start off with, two different problems and how they're similar, but once we go into those decimal places, their answers are now different. So we're going to be following along with this first problem. So I already started the first half of this problem. So the first half was 904 divided by 32, and I got an answer of 28, remainder 8. And I'm going to show you how this problem, 456 divided by 16, is very similar to this problem, but once we go into those decimal places, they're going to have some different answers. So please make sure you're following along with me on this problem, and then you're going to work on the next two problems by trying it on your own and then fixing it. And don't forget your steps for division. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, and repeat. So for this problem right here, I have to figure out how many times 16 can go into 4. That's 0. So I move on to 45. And 16 can fit into 45. So I think about how many times can 16 fit into 45? Well, I could round 16 up to 20 and think about 20 times 2 is 40, and that's pretty close. So let's try 16 times 2 and see if that would work. So we're going to do 16 times 2. 6 times 2 is 12, 1 times 2 is 2, and 2 plus 1 is 3. So I have 32. So that is pretty close, and I don't think the difference would be more than 16. So I'm going to try that number up here at the top. So we're going to do 16 times 2. So I finished my divide step. I'm about to do my multiply step. So I have 32 there. And now I can do my subtraction step. So 5 minus 2 is 3. And then 4 minus 3 is 1. And then I bring down 5, 6 left. So now I have to think about 16 times what is going to fit into 136. So just knowing that my answers are going to be matching up, I know that this is actually going to be an 8 up here. So I'm going to do 16 times 8. So 6 times 8 is 48. 1 times 8 is 8, plus 4 is 12, so that's 128. And that's as close as I'm going to get to 136 without going over. I'm going to put an 8 up here, and then I'm going to do 136 minus 128, and then go ahead and subtract. So I can't do 6 minus 8, so I have to cross that out and borrow from the tens place. 16 minus 8 is 8. So technically, my answers for both of these problems are exactly the same. I have 28, remainder 8, and 28, remainder 8. But now that we're getting into decimals, I'm going to be adding zeros, bringing them down, and continuing to solve these problems. And my answers are actually going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to start with this problem right here. I'm going to add a decimal there, a decimal up in my answer, and then I'm going to add a 0. And this 0 is in the 10th place. So I'm going to bring that all the way down here. And now I'm figuring out how many times can 32 fit into 80. And I know that 32 times 2 is 64, and that's really close to 80, so I'm going to use that factor again. So 32 times 2 is 64, and then I'm going to go ahead and subtract. I can't do 0 minus 4, so that becomes a 10, and this becomes a 7. 10 minus 4 is 6, and 7 minus 6 is 1. But remember, I'm not saying that this is 28.2 remainder 16. If I still have a remainder, then I need to add another 0. So now I have a 0 in my hundredths place, and I bring that all the way down. And now I'm thinking, how many times can 32 fit into 160? So this time I'm going to think about 30 times what is going to be really close to 160. Well, 30 times 5 is 150, so maybe if I did 32 times 5, I would get close to 160. So we're going to do that. 32 times 5. 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 plus 1 is 16. So 160. Don't forget to put your number up here in your quotients. So I'm going to do 32 times 5, which is 160. Subtract And now I'm done because I'm finally left with a remainder of 0. My final answer is 28 and 25 hundredths. Now we're going to compare that to this problem because now I'm going to go a little bit further with this problem. I'm going to add a 0 here. Add that 0. So now I have those zeros in those tenths place. I'm going to bring that 0 down. And now I'm figuring out how many times does 16 go. Oops, not 0 there. Got to try my decimal there. And I figure out how many times can 16 fit into 80. So again, I can think of this as, well, I know that I can round 16 up to 20 and think about, well, 20 times 4 is really close, is 80. So maybe 16 times 4 will work. So I'm going to do 16 times 4. 6 times 4 is 24. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. Now, using my number sense, I know that 64 plus 16 is actually 80, because 64 plus 6 is 70, and then 70 plus that 10 would be 80. So I'm actually going to change my factor to 5 instead of 4. We just estimated so that we can at least get close to what our answer is supposed to be. And then I do 16 times 5, which is 80. 80 minus 80 is 0. I'm left with a remainder of 0, so I can now stop. And if you take a look, you'll now see the big difference between these two problems. This one is 28 and 25 hundredths, while this one is only 28 and 5 tenths. So there's a big difference between these two problems. And that's why we add those zeros. So for the next problem, you're going to try it on your own. And just remember that you might need to add zeros if you're left with remainders. You keep having to add zeros until you're finally left with a remainder of 0. And don't forget to put your decimal up in your quotient for your answer. So I'm going to erase this. And I'll write the new problem up for you. So we have 834.6 divided by 26. Now for this one, since I already have that decimal right there, I'm going to bring the decimal up just so I don't forget about it. Remember, I want these exactly lined up. And you can go ahead and pause the video right here, and I want you to try and solve this problem. Just don't forget about that decimal. All right, so for this problem, I had to figure out first, can 26 fit into 8? No, it can't. Can 26 fit into 83? Yes, it can. And I had to figure out how many times it can. So I'm going to try 26 times 3, because I know that if I were to round 26 up to 30, and 30 times 3 is 90, that's pretty close. So I'm going to see if 26 times 3 would work. So 6 times 3 is 18, 2 times 3 is 6, 6 plus 1 is 7, so 78. And that is really close to 83 without going over, so that works. This 3 is going to go above this 3, because I'm saying 26 goes into 83 3 times. And then I'm going to do 26 times 3, which is 78. And then I'm going to subtract. So I can't do 3 minus 8. That becomes a 13, and this becomes a 7. 13 minus 8 is 5, and then I have to bring down the 4. And I have to figure out what 26, how many times 26 can fit into 54. So I'm going to try, I know that a factor of 3 would be too big because that's 78. So I'm going to try 2 and see if that would work. So let's try 26 times 2. So 6 times 2 is 12, carry the 1, leave the 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. And 52 works perfectly because it doesn't go over and it's really close. So I'm going to put that 2 up above that 54. So 26 times 2, we said, is 52. And then I'll go ahead and subtract. So I have 2 left. But remember, just because there's this decimal there, I can't forget about the number behind it. I still need to bring that down. And I have to figure out how many times can 26 fit into 26, which is nice and easy because that is only 1 time. So I'll put a 1 right up above the 6. And I multiply 26 times 1 is 26. I subtract, and I get a remainder of 0, which is perfect because now I know I can stop. So as soon as you get that remainder of 0, you are all done. And our final answer is 32 and 1/10. If you have any questions, please make sure you're raising your hand during this lesson asking for help. Let's take a look at problem 3. So we have 48.36 divided by 39. So again, I'm going to make sure that I bring that decimal straight up so I don't forget about it later on in my answer. And go ahead and pause this video and try this problem on your own. So my first step is I have to figure out what I can divide by. So 39 cannot fit into 4, but 39 can fit into 48. This is a nice easy one because I don't even really need to multiply by any different factors. I just can multiply by 1 because 39 could definitely only fit into 48 one time. 39 times 1 is 39. And then I can go ahead and subtract. This will become an 18, and this will become a 3. 18 minus 9 is 9. And then I have to bring down this 3. Now I have to figure out how many times can 39 go into 93. I can think about it if I were to round 39 up to 40. 40 times 2 is 80, so that's really close to 93. So I'm going to try a 2 up here. And I'm going to do 39 times 2 off to the sides. 9 times 2 is 18, carry the 1, leave the 8. 3 times 2 is 6, 6 plus 1 is 7, so 78. And that works perfect for me. So I'm going to go ahead and do 93 minus 78, and then I'm going to subtract. So I can't do 3 minus 8, so that becomes a 13, and that becomes an 8. 13 minus 8 is 5, and 8 minus 7 is 1. Now I still have one more number to bring down. Make sure you're not forgetting about those. So I'm going to bring down this 6. So I have 156 left, and I still need to fill up that place value. So I'm going to think about 39 times what could fit close to 156. Well, I know that 40 times 4 would be about 160, so maybe 39 times 4 would work for me. So let's try that. So we're going to do 39 times 4. 9 times 4 is 36. 3 times 4 is 12, and 12 plus 3 is 15. So that works out perfectly for us. So I'm going to put a 4 up here. 39 times 4 we said is 156. And then I'm going to go ahead and subtract. And I get a remainder of 0. So since I have a remainder of 0, I'm now totally done. And my final answer is 1 and 24 hundredths. Let's work on our very last problem, which is 8 and 61 hundredths divided by 41. Move my decimal right up here. And now this one might be a little bit tricky. So before you pause it and try it on your own, I don't want you to think of this as just 41 goes into 8, and then 41 does it go into 8.6. I want you to think of this as, can 41 fit into 86? Pretend that decimal isn't even there. So go ahead and pause the video and then try this problem. So 41 can fit into 86 2 times. So I'm going to do 41 times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Now for that number 2, it's going to go right up above that 6, just like it normally would. The only thing different is we have a decimal there. So 41 times 2 is 82. I'll subtract, bring down, and then I figure out how many times can 41 go into 41, which is nice and easy. It's only 1 time. And then 41 times 1 is 41. And then I subtract, and I get a final remainder of 0. So I know I can stop. I don't even have to add zeros at this point. So if you got all these correct, awesome job. If you need help, please make sure you ask for help or ask for a small group. And your problem set for today is going to be a little bit different from what you're used to. You're going to be working on number 2, A through H. So it's all going to be problems just like this. And then you're going to work on word problem number 3. After that, for your homework tonight, it's going to be a little bit different from your problem set as well. You're working on 2A through D, so a total of 4 problems. and then 3 A through B for a total of 6 problems for homework. Please make sure you circle these and then put your math book away. And that's going to be it for homework tonight. You're not going to be doing any word problems for homework. Make sure you check the answer key for your problem sets before you move on to the early finisher centers. Great job today.